If you accidentally pick up the wrong urn at the crematorium, what consequences might arise? Do you know? The story begins a year ago when my grandfather passed away. I grew up with him since I was a child. I took a leave of absence and returned to my hometown. The family was in constant disagreement over whether to bury or cremate, especially my eldest uncle, who insisted on traditional burial, while I argued for cremation, citing resource conservation. After a heated argument that didn't lead to any resolution, I stormed out, skipping dinner, and went to bed angry. The next morning, when I arrived at my grandfather's house, everyone's expressions were somber. Their faces looked like they had seen a ghost when they saw me. Confused, I inquired, and my eldest uncle approached me, saying we should go for cremation, as everyone had agreed to follow my suggestion. I couldn't understand why they all suddenly agreed, but without further questioning, I went along. After the cremation, I carried the urn to the cemetery for burial. Instead of joining the elders, I walked behind with my sister. As we watched the family walk away, my sister asked me if I knew why everyone agreed to my choice. Perplexed, I said no, and she asked if I dreamed of grandfather the previous night. I honestly replied that I hadn't. She then told me that everyone in the family dreamt of our grandfather that night, and he scolded each one of them. It seemed strange. It seemed strange, but I dismissed it, thinking they felt guilty on their own. I asked my sister to inform our parents that I wouldn't be coming home for dinner, and returned to my studies. Soon, the days passed, and it was time for my postgraduate entrance exam. Failing to prepare adequately, I decided to take a job locally. One night, returning home late from work, I decided to take a shortcut through a dark alley. It was known for occasional muggings, but I wanted to save time. Midway through the alley, two people suddenly blocked my way, demanding money. They were taller than me, and fearing for my safety, I handed over the remaining change in my pocket. Dissatisfied with the meager amount, one of them grabbed a stick, ready to strike. Before I could react, a heavy blow landed on my head, and I collapsed, consciousness fading. In my blurry state, I saw another figure approaching in the alley. The muggers turned to look, revealing a decaying face with maggots. Unfazed, the old man, my grandfather, scolded them for assaulting his grandson. The sight of his rotting face terrified the attackers, who fled immediately. I blacked out again. When I woke up, it was the next morning, and I found myself in a rented room. Confused, I remembered collapsing in the alley. Ignoring the strange circumstances, I prepared to leave for work. This pattern continued. I dreamed of my grandfather every few days, scolding and urging me to come home. Disturbed, I confided in my superstitious landlady, who suggested summoning spirits to understand my grandfather's message. Reluctantly agreeing, we performed a ritual with candles, a mirror, and my blood. In the process, my blood seemed to vanish into the mirror, and an apparition of my grandfather appeared. He expressed deep yearning for our visits, and lamented that nobody recognized him. Overwhelmed, I cried, and the vision ended. The landlady explained that my grandfather had limited time during the spirit summoning, urging me to think about the message. Baffled, I decided to visit the cemetery again. Observing closely, I found nothing amiss outside. It struck me that the mix-up might have occurred inside the tomb. Panicking, I called the landlady, who, after consulting a divination, brought cemetery workers to open the tomb. When the urns were retrieved, I immediately noticed the mistake. I had unintentionally taken the wrong ashes home. Contacting the funeral home, they confirmed the error, attributing it to the simultaneous ceremonies. After negotiations, both deceased individuals were finally laid to rest in the correct graves. The second incident dates back to 1982, involving a dam caretaker named Li Zongping. One night, he was disturbed by cries coming from the dam, initially thinking it was just the wind. However, as the cries grew louder and clearer, he couldn't ignore them any longer. Fearing someone might be in trouble, he decided to investigate. Armed with a flashlight, Li Zongping approached the dam's drainage holes. Illuminating the water, he discovered a lifeless body trapped beneath the iron bars designed to catch debris. It was a swollen, pregnant woman, who seemed to have been dead for a while. Shocked, he brought her ashore, covering the body with a white cloth and reporting the incident to the police. The next day, they identified the deceased and learned she was pregnant. The cause of her death remained a mystery.